do put them in the chat. So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are absolutely thrilled to have the brilliant Kim Clayden with us this evening. I will let Kim introduce herself. She does so much for the HMSA in so many different ways, but also has her professional day job role, which I will let her tell you all about. So over to Kim, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's first of all get some slides up here for you guys. Okay, so if someone can just give me a quick thumbs up that they can see those and me at the same time, that'd be great. Some sort of yay or nay.
All good.
Thank you. Okay. So thank you, and thank you for joining me today, everybody. So just a little bit of an introduction to who I am. So thank you, Lisa. My name is Kim Clayden. I am a solution-focused psychotherapist and clinical hypnotherapist. Although I do specialise in pain management and long-term health conditions management, I do help with a wide variety of mental health issues and things too. Mainly for me, it's all about that brain-body connection. So although we're considered working with mental health as a psychotherapist or hypnotherapist, actually we're doing both, and we're helping the body as well, because they are so linked, and we'll have a little bit of information on that today. Personally, I am HEDS diagnosed. I'll put my teeth back in. I'm also diagnosed with POTS, amongst other things as well. So utilizing, everything that I've learnt over my journey from pre-diagnosis to diagnosis and on, I use as part of my practice as well. And then I'm also part of what is known as the Kent Hypermobility Network. So I work alongside, although I work on completely online, I work alongside people like Joe Southall, the occupational therapist, Jeannie DeBon, her Zebra Club and all of that kind of stuff as well, part of that network, supporting people like yourselves get, all the help and support that they need as well. Okay, so a little bit about today. We'll go into some neuroscience behind relaxation. I say slash hypnotherapy slash a focused state of attention, because they're all kind of interlinked really nicely. We'll be having a look at some images of the brainwaves in action, or what the relaxed state and or trance state actually looks like within the brain. And for me, it's really fascinating that we have this access to this. One day I'm hoping to get the actual machine and do a live demonstration. That'd be really cool. We'll look into a little bit of the relaxation benefits from the physical perspective, because as I say, even though we are relaxing and doing, trying to relax the mind, we're relaxing body, there's also lots of lovely benefits for there. And just very quickly as well, from the feedback last time, and this is why it's important that you guys feedback to us, I did add some more bits and pieces of information which made it a bit more talky and a little less relaxy, and the feedback from that is that they would like that balance to be the other way. So we'll do a little bit less talky and a little bit more relaxing today as well, so you'll get a bit of a taster of relaxation. We'll make sure we do a nice good length relaxation for you all as well. Okay, so the rating metaphor, first of all, we want to consider the brain as a business, because there is a very streamlined way when we are not struggling with stress. We have our world kind of working quite well for us, so everything's going fairly good. Our stress is at a manageable level, our pain perhaps is at a manageable level. Our brain should work in a very streamlined sort of way. Now, the reason for mentioning this is because there's a lot of things that can trigger this to not be the case. As you know, our whole world can turn upside down very easily for us, and it can make things go a bit awry. Now, the reason also for this as well is how we think and stress impacts, and relaxation is a key part of how the brain works, how it thinks, and what it can do when it's in certain states, whether it be stress state or relaxed state, that kind of stuff. So we think of the brain when the bucket's fairly empty, we've got, things are working well in our world. Say we're, symptoms are pretty cool, calm and collective at the moment, as we do. We think of the brain as, in particular, our boss part of the brain, that prefrontal cortex. It, shall we say, should be pretty much chief in charge, but for most bosses of a business, they're just sat in that room that people kind of are a bit scared to go into, and the boss will only come out and talk to the secretary or personal assistant, if you will, when it needs to make sure that change does happen. Okay, now that kind of flow through. So we have boss talk to personal assistant. So our personal assistant's called the anterior cingulate. You don't need to know this, but it is nice to know these words, and you can have a wee little Google for yourselves if you like. So we've got our prefrontal cortex, that positive part of the brain, that logical part of the brain, talk to the personal assistant, and then the personal assistant should go off to other areas of the brain, delegate, and that all should feed back then through to the boss. That's how it should work when things are going well. Our body and everything's a little bit more relaxed in life, and we don't have too much stress going on. I'm just going to put my fan on because it's getting a bit warm in here, and hopefully it won't be too noisy for you. I don't want to make myself potsy now. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's nice and shush for you all. If it's too loud, do let me know. Okay, now this process, this kind of lovely process of feeding back and forth for the brain, can fall down, as we say, in a number of different ways. Sometimes that prefrontal cortex, or that boss of the brain, can bombard the personal assistant with lots of things it wants changing or doing. Okay, so it's like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And your poor personal assistant of your brain actually will get overloaded at this point, and that's when we start to get into a bit of trouble. So if the message from the boss or prefrontal cortex to the personal assistant isn't clear enough, i.e., I would not be doing X, Y, and Z, we start thinking about all the negative aspects of things. We have to kind of change the way we word in session with clients as to what are we going to do and how we're thinking and how we're talking. Is everything all right, Lisa? Yeah, okay. If you could put your camera on, so I just thought you maybe kept my attention. That's okay. So what we're having, so what we have at this point, so if the personal assistant, as I say, it doesn't have a clear enough message, it starts to get really overloaded. And when it gets overloaded, then the amygdala starts to get involved at this point. Now, a lot of you will know what an amygdala does, or what that feels like when it starts to take over. So, if you're got a lot of stress going on, or you've got a lot of pain going on, you've got new symptoms that you're dealing with, and things are getting really out of control, our amygdala earthquake starts to happen. So just to be very clear that, it's not our fault that this happens and the amygdala will overtake. It is just how the brain works. Now, the amygdala will start to hijack all other areas of the brain, which is quite interesting, because a lot of us will struggle with things like brain fog, etc. Not always the case that this is why we forget words, but it can add to. If the earthquakes happening, the language center is in that upper area of the brain, and if the amygdala is taking over in the lower area, we can't access that language center very well. We can't access creativity very well. We can't access logical, rational thought very easily either, or positive thought as well. So there's a lot that happens when the brain gets really overloaded and bombarded, and that amygdala starts to take over. And at that point, it can be completely haywire as well, in terms of POTS can get triggered more, MCAS can get triggered more, and all sorts of things, because it's just on overload all the time. So this is why things like writing down goals is a really simple thing for us to do, but the written word of writing down goals, it actually will cement in the brain, make it stick in the brain a bit easier. And there's certain solution focused techniques that we do with clients in terms of one small step drill that we do to really kind of nail down a doing task or picture, something that a client can see themselves doing in order for change to happen, what that possibility could look like in the future. And by doing all of this as well, all of these like solution focused techniques, trance actually, or relaxation in itself, makes all of the tools and techniques that we use even more effective. So even if we don't get time or don't do it in session, I'm always actively encouraging clients to do their nighttime recording, trying to do relaxation in the day, because it makes everything stick in the brain better. It makes everything we do in session stick in the brain better, but it makes everything we're trying to do much better for the brain as well. Because what happens at that point when we do any sort of relaxation, that prefrontal cortex, that boss of the brain, it's actually like it's just gone off on holiday, which is wonderful. The amygdala earthquake relaxes and shuts up, stops stomping around the place, and goes back to drinking tea and eating biscuits. And the personal assistant activity actually shoots up. Really cool. Okay, remember that personal assistant is what's going to help us do all the organizing of what could that look like in the future, or identify priorities, identifying right answers. All clients have answers to their problems within them. We 100% believe that as solution focused people. And it's just sometimes with the amygdala stomping around the place, they can't access their strengths, skills, abilities within them. So we use these like relaxation techniques to help pull out those answers as well. So it helps get prioritizing and identifying those answers. So relaxation is really important, even in terms of how we think and what we process during relaxation as well. I hope that makes sense. So we are basically creating the best environment for our brain to do what it should be doing normally when our bucket is empty. Okay. And we know for people like us, trying to get a fairly empty bucket is really difficult when you've got pain and symptoms and daily life going on. It's hard. It's hard work. And it can feel like that full-time or part-time job, just managing all of that, let alone our whole world on top of that. Okay, so that's why relaxation is important, because then at that point, our brain can work on problem solving, prioritizing, all of those kinds of stuff as well. And you don't have to do it really, it doesn't have to be massively long relaxations either. A good 20 minutes even is really useful for our brain. Or utilizing my nighttime recordings, really good for your brain. You'll have access to that as well. But we live with such complex bodies, and struggles and symptoms. So relaxation is just that key to help manage our brains and our body is a bit better. So it's a double bubble. It helps with everything. And I'll go into a bit more as to how that does that shortly. Okay. So casting my mind back many moons ago when I did my training, nearly, I want to say 6-7 years ago now. Oh, it's making me feel old. So we actually had access to this lovely EEG machine. It's not quite what you're probably used to seeing when you see people having full-on brainwave caps, proper EEG caps and stuff on with millions of electrodes. But this particular machine is just to show us very specific brainwaves that are what we are looking for in order to show what is going on in the brain when we do any sort of relaxation, focused state of attention. Okay, so trance or relaxation, as I say, gives us a focused state of attention. And I'll go into what that means shortly. But what we're trying to say here is trance is, it's really ordinary in many ways. We go into trance loads of times a day. You've probably gone in and out of a trance-like state just sitting here watching and listening. Here, you may kind of focus for a bit and go off somewhere in terms of your mind wandering and coming back again. but it's if you've read a book, you know, if you're watching TV. The scariest one I ever did, and a lot of people will do, is if you've ever driven from A to B and can't remember how you've gotten there, you just go, oh, okay, I'm here again. I used to do that all the time, going to the ice rink at like 5:30 in the morning, ready for training, or when I used to do my coaching. And I just couldn't remember how I got there, and I try and like think back to the journey, and I'd just done it. It was a trance-like state. I just knew how to get there. There was no traffic at that point, so my brain just goes, "Oh, there you are. You're at the ice rink. Enjoy." But a lot of us do those kinds of things, and we don't realize actually what is happening at that point. But all it is when that intellectual upper part of the brain and that lower primitive part of the brain is focused on the same thing. Okay, so it's that focused state of attention. When we get access to that, we then have access to our subconscious mind, and that helps us enormously as well, because our subconscious mind has no barriers to memory or learning, which is incredible when working with clients when we deal with things like PTSD or CPTSD phobias and stuff, because a lot of people will see things in a certain way where every time we recall a memory, it is slightly different. It's never exactly how it happened. Something always changes. You know, memories are not perfect. But actually, when we do things like trauma work and things like that, or phobia, we use very visual techniques to help go through and put all of those sort of memories to bed. And we will utilize like you utilize that subconscious, so a client doesn't have to sit there and go waiting for the next session for us to work on it, going, I must remember that memory, I must remember that. And it can be horrible stuff. They don't need to think about it, because as soon as they go into that relaxed state and we have access to that subconscious mind, that part of the brain, that subconscious mind, will know exactly what memories it needs to work with and what it needs to do. It's incredible. And that can help alleviate a lot of anxiety around doing that kind of work as well. So we have the EEG machine anyway, we had it strapped on our heads. So what we're looking at here are the four main brain waves. And the four main brain waves we have are let me grab those quickly, because I always get one of them at least wrong, because my poor little brain. So theta is what is known as the thinking one. Alpha, when it activates, is visualization. Beta means busy, and I'll go into a little bit about that shortly. And delta is relaxing. Okay, we don't need to remember those, but it's just helpful to have an idea of what's going on. Okay, so this was when I was training. It's a very broad picture. What we've got going on is those delta, theta, alpha, beta waves. And you may notice a bit of a red kind of line going through, and a bit of green, a bit of yellow and green. So every so often, it's almost like a red just swipes over, and then it goes green and yellow, and we have spots of activity and stuff when we're in a conscious state. But the red will sweep through every so often. Your brain's just checking every few seconds that everything's working and everything's a-okay. So it's perfectly normal to see a red sweep every so often. Okay, so what we've got here is the machine is picking up on electrical activity that's coming from your brain, which is pretty cool. Okay, and this machine is only attached to like the outside. It's not kind of going in or anything. It's just sat very gently and picking up on all that lovely electrical activity. So we've got little neurons, okay, which are the cells inside your brain. When they fire, they produce electricity. So when we are, you know, sitting here thinking now, or listening, or I'm talking, that kind of thing, you know, our brain's firing and producing electricity all the time. It's a bit like an orchestra. So your brain is firing with lots of different parts of the orchestra all at once. So there's no one single instrument playing. Okay, it tends to be lots of sections of the orchestra all kind of working nicely together. And then, as I say, it's almost like everybody uses their instrument to make sure everything's working as it sweeps through. Okay, so the brain's always checking. So it's firing lots of different parts at once. But so this is what we're picking up on, is more than one neuron firing at a time. Okay, so what the EEG machine does is it picks up that there's lots and lots of activity, perhaps like a whole string sections playing at once. And it goes through the machine, it goes through wirelessly into the computer, and it gives us this wonderful map that we can see of the brain, of what's going on. Okay, so all those nodules that you see on that machine, that lovely little thing that's there going, all those nodules, that's what we then see is produced here. Okay, so all those nodules from the machine gives us this picture. So what we see on this picture before you are those nodules and what it's picking up, those 4 different brain waves. And as we say, this is why we have then 4 separate maps of the brain for the 4 separate brain waves. So exactly what goes on in your brain at the moment, almost instantaneously, what we saw was somebody doing something and seeing it on a screen within fractions of a second. It was quite cool. It was pretty amazing. So there's different levels of arousal, of wakefulness, and we see different areas of the brain picking up on that as well. And depending on what you're thinking, and what you're trying to visualize, whether you're thinking about what you're doing tomorrow, what you're doing later, what you're going to get ready for bed, all of those things depends on what we see happening on that screen as well. It's very, very interesting to see. So as I said, beta means busy. So the beta is the one that we are mostly using at the moment, the part of the brain because that we use the most as well, because I'm using right now because I'm thinking about this presentation. I'm thinking about sitting up properly, good posture. I'm trying to keep my legs busy, to keep my circulation going, thinking about getting warm, so I put my fan on, thinking about the words I'm saying, thinking about pop-ups on my screen and making sure that I'm, presentations go, all of these things, the brain's constantly thinking. Okay, it's always busy, always thinking about the words that you're saying, what you're going to say next. If you hear something, what's going to be the next thing? All of that all the time. So that's what the beta is, that busy part of the brain. Beta is busy. So you may notice then in the color at this point of a person's conscious state. So I've got, is it going to let me go? Oh, there we go. Okay. So you notice that red sweep, as we say, that goes through the brain doing that full check, so that's absolutely fine. So alpha we have when we're a bit more relaxed, okay, the more creative thinking about what you might like things to be like, or what you might like to happen. Problem solving is important for that part of the brain. It's a light trance like state, relaxed and focused state of attention. So alpha is actually more about visualization of things. So we remember that theta is thinking. So if I am doing relaxation, which we'll do in a little bit, and I'm talking to you about, even if it's just a progressive muscle relaxation rather than an actual visualization, and you're thinking about those parts of the body, I'm asking you to think about something, and then the alpha might get involved to then visualize something. So it usually goes theta and then visual. So if we think about something and then we visualize it, for those that can, not everybody I know can create that picture in their mind, that in that studio of their mind. I know it's more difficult for some people to do as well. And there's other ways of relaxing for those as well to help. But if you just take a little moment, have a think. If you were to, close your eyes now and just take a little moment. And if you'd like to just have a little think about your partner or friend or pet or something at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to think about my lovely dog that I had, because it's nice to just remember what those ears felt like, and giving her little pats feels like, all of those kinds of things. What might your friend, family, pet be doing right now? Have a little think about that. And then when we do that, when we think about what they might be doing, perhaps, we go nicely into that alpha state that I've circled on the slide. Okay. So what are they wearing? Or what are they doing? Having a think about that for a moment. We slip nicely into the alpha state. Okay, so when we will do relaxation later, there will be an element of visualization that we'd like to do. So we're just bringing our brain back to using the alpha state so we can visualize things, okay? So you can open your eyes if you close them to visualize, but that's all we're doing. So you can see that circled section there. We're getting that involved when we think about those things. Okay, that's why people studying for exams and stuff, if they're very visual people, and they like colors, you know, I used to highlight certain bits depending on the subject in a certain color, and I had color association. I could use that alpha wave to visualize and think about those things. Okay, so there's little things like that people that do. So why is it important for us to do relaxation and think about these things? We're thinking about goals as well a lot of the time. So there are certain words, certain metaphors that we use in the type of relaxation that we do to help the brain think about goals. Yeah, the more that we see it, feel it, believe these things to be true, the more that your brain works towards that. Not forgetting, remember, that personal assistant has to be crystal clear about what it is that you want to be able to be able to achieve that. And this is where things like relaxation can be really good for making it crystal clear, but also gets that brain firing with lots of visualization. You know, we can think about the things of the past, present, potential future. Your brain doesn't care. It can time travel between all. You know, it will think about all the possibilities of the future. It can think about nice things of the past. It doesn't matter. Utilizing that visualization. Okay. So we do relaxation on a Monday night here within the HMSA. We do it online on a Monday. Do feel free to join us if you are wanting to try relaxation a little bit more regularly. But for those of you that aren't able to join us on a Monday, all of them are recorded, and they get put onto the website anyway, so you can utilize them at your leisure. Okay, so is my slide going to move? There we go. Okay. Oh, yes, the last little thing you may notice on that slide. Look at the color of the beta. So we've gone from being extremely red, extremely active, to silence. So that chuntering part of the brain actually does go quiet, which is quite amazing. Okay, to consider just how active and chatty that part of the brain can be to us, for it to actually go quiet. This is the key for relaxation, to actually allow other areas of the brain do what it needs to do to help problem solve. It's really, really good for the brain. Okay. So for a lot of hypermobile folk, you may or may not be aware that we can also have a lot of breathing dysfunction. If you've ever listened to Jeannie de Bond do any talking and about breathing, she's always very much on the same wavelength as me of, you know, breathing first and relaxing, and she talks about meditation and all sorts of things. But it's very, very common for us to have some sort of breathing dysfunction. You may hear me sometimes struggle to breathe occasionally, and I'm very much still working on that, making sure I breathe properly. And I mentioned that I was trying to have good posture, because a lot of us don't have the best posture in the world. You know, it's just floppy is comfortable for us. You know, it's just how we're made. So we're trying my best to have a good posture, to get that lovely deep breath. So actually, the more floppy our posture is, the shallower our breathing is, the more likely we are to trigger fight flight. Okay, and also more likely to trigger POTS as well. So even just by posture and breath, we can actually trigger our symptoms more as a result of that. Now, if you're in fight flight as a result of breathing too fast, your brain thinks that it's an emergency situation. It can also increase your pain. Okay, so there's that direct link there as well. It's not us, you know, it's just, this is the hand we were dealt. So we have to learn to, you know, do things to help calm these things down. And as I say, it can feel like that for full-time, part-time job of just managing all these things. But just thinking about posture and working on that muscle structure, you know, is really important for us to help us breathe nice and deeply as well. Okay, because we do slouch, and it's, we squish our lungs, and then we can trigger things, as I say. So things like POTS or autonomic dysfunction, as we said, that dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system is quite common within the hypermobile community, the symptomatic hypermobile community, because, we can trigger that fight, flight, or what we call the sympathetic nervous system more. Now, we have two main parts of the autonomic system. I don't want to be teaching you guys to suck eggs, but just for those that do not know, we have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is that fight flight nervous system, whereas the parasympathetic is that rest digest nervous system. Okay, so when we look at what's happening, they both affect different things depending. So, very much includes our gut, so our stomach. And you think about the sympathetic nervous system, it can inhibit our gut, cause IBS-like symptoms, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system will stimulate our gut, and the intestine and the bladder and that kind of thing as well. People like us, the real thing we do have to think about is, potential slow gut motility, gastroparesis, where, for those that don't know, when the gut basically just refuses to function, just stops doing its wiggliness and working for us. And actually, things like relaxation is key in helping with that, to get things moving, because the more we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the more we activate our gut as well. Okay, possibly a little bit of TMI, but I did recently have a colonoscopy, and I do practice this myself a lot. And I was told I was a little bit too wriggly. Okay, they were trying to get the camera in places to see the small intestine, and my nerve, and I was just parasympatheticing so much that everything was very wriggly. So I definitely have no issue there, which is great to see. It was actually noted that I was extremely wriggly, which is, I guess, a good thing. Um, but they were quite pleased with, considering having EDS, and I've still got nice wriggly guts. It's always good. So, it is important we keep doing these things, particularly if you struggle with any slow gut motility. I also struggle with something called dysphagia, when I get very, very fatigued. And or that brain to body communication can get a little slow. I can what they call aspirate on fluids, and things like relaxation to give some energy back is really important. Otherwise it can get worse and worse. So I have those EDS things, I have those bendy things, but trying to utilize as many of these tools that you can is all part of that process for us. Okay, so relaxation in the body absolutely slows our heart rate. It reduces blood pressure. Digestion does absolutely improve, as we said, in my case, a little bit too on the wriggly side. But it's not a bad thing, considering, I do have a slower moving kind of esophagus to gut area. It's nice to know that I am encouraging activity elsewhere. So even though I've got EDS problems, I'm also encouraging things that could potentially get worse as well. Breathing slows down, which is really good. Muscle relaxation is key, helps with pain management, reduces pain as a result of that. If we're very, very stressed, we tend to hold a lot of tension. We get a lot in the kind of neck and shoulder area. So doing any sort of relaxation is really good for us. Okay. And it can also boost the immune system, which is wonderful. And it can aid in better sleep as well. Okay, so the type of relaxation or hypnotherapy that I do, is it's not the what you call the classical hypnotherapy. It's all solution focused. So basically what that does mean is, everything is neuroscience based. I've done so much research into all of these things. Just being told that you're going to be like this and feel this way, is for the rest of your life, your brain will just be like, no, I don't think so. Everything has to be done very, very gentle. We have to think about the language that we use. Stories and metaphors are good for the brain. Brains do not like to be told what to do. Brains do not like advice. If you've ever got a friend or family member or someone that if you keep telling them the same thing, if you just go and do so and so, that will solve your problem. And you know this for them, and you keep telling them, and they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting that different result. But until someone else tells them in a different, like a story mode or in a different kind of way, do they go, oh, I did the thing. It's like, if you'd have just done it like 6 months ago, all of this like heartache and hurt or whatever would have been avoided. Okay. So it's how you talk to people as well as how we do relaxation. So it's doing it via stories and metaphors makes the brain much more open and much more likely to take in information and want to listen. Okay. But relaxation is absolutely a skill. Much like positive thinking is a skill. Okay. It doesn't come easy to everyone. Visualization in itself is a skill as well. Some people are very visual. I can stare at the screen now, think about a lovely juicy red apple, and it's right there visually in front of me, and then I could take it and move it to the side. Okay. Not everybody can do that. Some people don't even see anything when they close their eyes, so, and I was having this very discussion with my husband recently, because we were trying to, how can I explain to some people who really struggle to understand visualization and what I'm asking or what we're hearing, even, when we think about, I say a song stuck in my head and that I'm hearing it, is like, well, you're not hearing it because it's not your ears taking it in, but actually the song is in my head and I can hear it. Yes, it's how you explain that kind of thing. So I think about relaxation and visualization when I close my eyes is almost like there is that studio or cinema screen that I can see what it is I'm asking it to see. I can close my eyes and visualize the things I want it to visualize, but I know not everyone can. And if you are that person who really struggles or has gotten frustrated in the past that they can't see things or see things very well, it absolutely does take practice to, it's like a muscle, it has to be flexed. We have to use it and keep using it to keep getting stronger. For some people, they have to practice a fair amount and it will get stronger. But for some people, there is that condition where they can't see anything at all. And that's okay. All right. It's a case of doing relaxation just slightly differently. So instead of closing your eyes expecting to see things, something like progressive muscle relaxation could be equally as good. You're still relaxing, but instead of focusing on visualizing things to relax, you're focusing on your body and relaxing. Your brain's still doing a focused state of attention. You'll still get the benefits of the doing picture, or um the words I'm looking for are and they're gone. Think about doing pictures. Oh, here we go. Brain fog for me. Happens to the best of us. Problem solving and all of that kind of stuff. That's what I was coming for. Just needed to breathe, bring the brain back. Okay. So, as I say, there's other ways as well of doing relaxation. So, if you're someone who is quite fidgety, really struggles to sit still, and still wants to do some form of relaxation, sticking relaxation on in the background, but doing some coloring instead of laying down and relaxing is absolutely fine. Just having the act of something on in the background, like a relaxation, your brain's still going to listen. Okay, so it's still going to do that. And if you're doing, like, if you like an adult coloring book or you like crocheting or anything like that, you're still focused state of attentioning. Okay, you'll be amazed what will go on in the background. And most people can tell me exactly what has been said and what the metaphor meant, that kind of thing, even if they are playing with, even like kids playing with toys whilst we do relaxation, they can still tell me they're still listening. And on that point, I know we have little ones as well that are hypermobile and might want to try relaxation. If you've got little ones, they do it differently. They don't tend to sit still, although some will. you know, I had one client when I wasn't on the boat, and I had a practice. They would, they were just doing handstands the whole entire time, you know, but they were listening, they were doing. Okay, but that was their way of stimming that they needed to do. They needed to move, but they knew exactly what was being said and what those metaphors meant. Okay, so you may do it differently, but it's finding a way that works for you. All right, so we're doing good for time. So I'm now going to do a little bit of relaxation. Just going to very quickly take a look at the chat box before we do, make sure I've not missed anything. Okay. So, what is the reason for me not being able to visualize anything, and what can I do now in this exercise, right in this exercise? So, if you really do struggle to see anything, okay, there's no quick fix for that. Okay, so if you want to practice or have a go at relaxation now, absolutely fine. But if you know in yourself that you're not going to visualize, you're just going to get annoyed and fidgety and stuff, that's absolutely fine. What you may want to do is just have me playing in the background whilst you do something else. Okay, so if you want to try and lay down and relax, great. Okay, you may even find you see colors or something, and you may even have a go at that. But if not, you're more than welcome to do any sort of, like, you know, crafting or coloring, anything like that. But what I will say is, for anyone doing this and listening to this right now, the main stipulation for any sort of relaxation is to not operate any sort of heavy machinery, or i.e. no driving whilst you're doing this, because it can make you feel sleepy. Okay, so it might just take practice. And there's lots of different kinds of relaxation out there. There are less visual ones. There will be a QR code and a link to my progressive muscle relaxation one that you can absolutely utilize. This one will be a little bit visual, but also thinking about sensations a little bit more so as well. So you may find that you do a little bit of it. Then you may struggle to visualize. That's fine. You may then bring yourself around and then do some crafting and listen still. Your brain's still getting the benefit, whatever you decide to do. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Yes, sorry, aphantasia. There you go. That's the word. It completely lost me there. So thank you very much. Link Fairy's been putting some very handy things up there. So thank you. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just stop sharing my slides, and hopefully, actually I could leave the slides up there. If I put the music through, hopefully it should work. We should have it all set up to go. I think that's coming through. So if you can, just put, if you can hear the music in the chat box, or a little, I think you might be able to react and do a little thumbs up for me if it is okay, and if the level's okay. Ooh. If it's not okay, just let me know what needs to change. All right. And I'll have a quick, can I see the chat box? There we go. I think you can react.
I can't hear anything, and I think other people can't at the moment.
Okay, let's try and share the audio again then. Is that coming through?
Better. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's because I then shared the slides. It decided to not share the audio at the same time. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to leave that and leave the slide off if that's all right. Oh, there it is. Excellent. There we go. So it's just a little reminder for anyone that's done this before, and if you haven't before, there is absolutely no right or wrong way of doing this. We just want to get ourselves as comfortable as we can, so you can listen comfortably to the sound of my voice and the music, and to be able to relax now. Now, when we do relaxation, you're more than welcome to sit or lay down. That is absolutely fine. The main stipulation is to have your head supported. So if you do find yourself getting lovely and relaxed, you don't then lean forward and jolt yourself. We want to be as supported as we possibly can. Okay, so like on the back of my chair, I can pull the headpiece up and put my head back and feel supported that way. If you have no headpiece on your chair, for example, you may want to move yourself onto a sofa or a chair that is supported for you. Okay. Now, you don't have to remember everything that I say, and that's okay, because that subconscious mind, as we said, will hear everything that it needs to hear as you relax now. So we're just going to start by taking a few nice deep breaths in through that nose. Feel those lungs expanding, and out through the mouth, through pursed lips, softly blowing slowly outwards. Almost like you're blowing that bubble really gently outwards. And a couple more nice deep breaths for me in through that nose. And if you can, just make that out breath that little bit longer than your in breath. Nice and slowly outwards. And that's important because that sends a lovely message to the brain that it's okay to relax now. And as you hear my voice, feel that bed, that chair, that sofa beneath you. You may notice each breath just relaxing and comforting you more and more. And you can breathe normally now. Just each breath taking you even deeper into relaxation. Just allowing yourself to become completely absorbed in the life and sensations of your body. You don't have to focus or try to remember everything. Just know that you are able to relax fully and completely for a while. So whilst you are allowing yourself to relax there that little bit more, I'd like to just bring your focus to the very top of your head. And we're just thinking about what a warm golden light would feel like now shining down onto your head. And being bathed in this light, this warm, golden, beautiful light, we can just feel our skin begin to loosen. And as that beautiful light moves slowly down, we can feel all the muscles of your head and face beginning to really relax. Your forehead smoothing out, your cheeks relaxing, all loosening and relaxing now. And as that light continues to scan down over your neck and shoulders, you may notice your breathing becoming slower and easier. And you can feel it on your chest and upper back now, that same warm, beautiful feeling. All that stress and tension just melting away. It's almost as if there is a warm, healing liquid running down your body, relaxing and comforting every cell as it continues to move on down over your abdomen and lower back, just notice in your arms and hands now as that same warm, relaxing feeling begins to fill them all the way down to the very tips of your fingers. You can allow all the tension to slowly drain away as that warmth flows through your hips, down into your thighs. You may notice your legs becoming heavier as that warm, beautiful feeling passes through your shins and calves, right the way down into your feet, your arches, the very tips of your toes, all of the muscles of your body relaxed, peaceful. So now I'd like you to have a little think about something for me. I'd like you to think about what it would be like if you were floating on a soft, white, fluffy cloud on a sunny day. And it doesn't matter if you can't see it clearly, you can just think about what that would feel like now, floating, drifting peacefully on that beautiful summer's day. And in a few moments from now, I'm going to count down from 10 to 0. And with each number I count, I'd like you to think about this cloud beginning to drift softly downwards. And as it sinks, you'll become as deeply relaxed as you can imagine, while still being able to hear and respond to my voice. 10. Just noticing that cloud beginning to softly drift downwards now. 9. Sinking down slowly. 8. Going deeper and deeper. 7. Feeling more and more relaxed as you drift. 6. Just noticing your body becoming heavier as you sink even further. 6. Just noticing your body becoming heavier. 5. Halfway down now, curious as to what you'll find at the bottom. 4. Feeling more and more relaxed. 3. Your breathing becoming slower and steadier still. 2. Almost all the way down now. 1. Just one more to go. And 0. And now you find yourself in that very special place, deep in that unconscious mind. This is that part of that mind that knows everything about you. And while you are here, you are safe. And there are no barriers to memory or learning. And everything that I say is for your benefit and designed to help you. So over the coming days, weeks and months, you'll notice lots of positive changes happening within you. These changes will allow you to feel more and more confident, more self-assured. So whilst you're relaxing there now, we're just going to think about ourselves standing at the top now of a very green hill on a tropical island. And again feeling that warmth, but this time the warmth of the sun on your head and shoulders. And we can notice long grasses around us just moving slightly in the gentlest of breezes. When you look down that hill, you can see a narrow winding path that disappears into a small forest. Beyond the forest, you can see the ocean, and sunlight from the clearest of blue skies just glancing off the top of the waves in the bay, so that the whole ocean seems to shimmer and sparkle. And you begin to move confidently and easily down that path, with the ferns and grasses brushing gently against your legs as you pass. And you just catch that faint smell of salt being brought in on that breeze, and become aware of the distant sound of the ocean and the shore. Perhaps you can hear seabirds calling from a long way off, and you just marvel at that beautiful sense of calmness and tranquility that sweeps over you as you move on down towards that forest, moving so easily, so effortlessly. You feel almost as though you're floating on air. And in no time at all, you find yourself just drifting through the trees, their leaves closing overhead to form a canopy, their branches making an irregular pattern against the clear blue of the sky. And it's pleasantly cool in the forest, the gentle sounds of the birds singing, echoing faintly. The scent of the trees and undergrowth relaxes you still further. And as you move easily and confidently into the inviting depths, becoming more and more relaxed with each step that you take, you can hear a stream somewhere, its gurgling sound gradually mingling with the sound of the ocean. And as you follow that winding path down and down towards the beach that you know is in front of you, weaving through the trees, brushing aside the occasional piece of foliage, until quite suddenly you feel that warmth of the sun on your head and shoulders once again. And you find yourself on a beautiful deserted beach, a beautiful golden shoreline sweeping away in a gentle curve in front of you, to a distant point where the trees seem to come right down to the shoreline, so that their branches actually seem to overhang the ocean itself. And you can feel that sand warm between your toes as you stroll confidently across that broad beach to the water's edge. And that sand becomes that darker golden colour when you get there, and you enjoy that change to a wetter, firmer coolness beneath your feet as you wander along that shore, noticing that you're leaving a trail of footprints in the sand behind you. And every so often a larger than usual wave sends water just foaming around your feet. And as it recedes, you just notice how the sand is washed away from tiny coloured pebbles that are glinting like jewels in the sun. The smell of the ocean, the sunlight on the waves, the sound of the water hissing over the sand. All of these things seem to create a sense of timelessness for some unknown reason. And you find yourself a comfortable position, a grassy hollow maybe, to just sit and gaze out across the rolling depths to the horizon, trickling warm golden sand idly through your fingers. There's a faint haze, which makes it difficult for you to see exactly where the sky stops and the ocean starts. And as you try to fathom it out, you see a small white cloud appear from somewhere near the horizon. It comes towards the island quite quickly, growing larger as it approaches, until it's immediately overhead. The largest, fluffiest, whitest clouds you can ever remember. And you somehow know just by instinct that you can let all of your worries, all of your cares, fears and anxieties just drift up towards this large, white, fluffy cloud. You can actually see them drifting away from you in a long, slow spiral, like smoke from a bonfire, spiraling away from you towards this large white cloud. And this cloud absorbs all of your worries into itself, swallowing up all of your fears and anxieties, becoming steadily darker all the time, until just as it reaches its darkest, just as that last part of that spiral, all your worries and cares disappear inside it. The sun just bursts through, dispelling every one of your worries, every one of your fears and anxieties to the edges of the universe, leaving you totally relaxed, completely at ease with yourself, without a single care in the world. And all of those troubles and cares being floated away from you, each easy breath relaxing you, calming you still further. You just continue to sit, stare out at that sea, enjoying that warmth of the sun, that coolness of the breeze. You breathe in calm tranquility of that sea air, breathing out any stresses of the day, breathing in the pure clean air, breathing out any tiny traces left of muscle tension, letting go, perhaps in your shoulders, your forehead, that forehead for a lot of us. Breathing in that cool air, feeling closer to the real you, and now hearing the real you, that still, calm, strong inner voice that sometimes appears to soften to a whisper in moments of stress. But here on this beautiful beach, sitting on the soft sand, your still, calm inner voice is so much easier to hear for you. And as you decide what is best for you, what works best for you, you start to feel the calm, still. The breeze has dropped away, leaving the smooth sea shining like a mirror reflecting the golden hues of the day. There is barely a ripple on the surface, and your breathing slows to match the sea. A feeling of calm, clear clarity spreading through you as you think of all the colours of the coast: beige, yellow soft sand, the blues, greens of the sea, the paler sky blue above you. You are surrounded by soothing shades of colour. Your thoughts reflect the stillness of the sea, and you can hear your still, calm voice clearly in your mind now, calming you, able to feel your confidence rising within you. You stare out to the sea, filled with the wonder at the beauty that you see in the strength of the sea. Here, from the safety of the shore, and as you run your fingers through the soft, warm, silky sand, you realise the sea is as strong as it needs to be. Some days, powerful waves rise up majestically as strong winds whip up the sea at its strongest point. Other days, the sea is calm, still, mirror smooth, and you mirror the sea. You are the sea in all its states. You can be calm and still, or majestically powerful, and all points in between. Able to see more clearly now what is right for you. Sometimes the stormy waves hold such power and force that it feels harder to see your path. The storm of the sea and the storm of emotions leaves you feeling as if you are shipwrecked on the shore, breathless and tired. Sometimes the force of feelings feels overpowering. And when we look beneath the waves, that you can swim beneath the waves in that cool, blue, beautiful water, there's no hint of the waves above. Here everything is peaceful and calm. Here beneath the waves is the majesty of the sea. Here is its strength and depth. You swim confidently, that cool water rushing over you, feeling light and weightless, relaxed. The sandy ocean floor studded with shells, their beautiful shells shine through the water. Fronds of green seaweed sway, their roots anchored on the seabed below you. The swaying rhythm of the seaweed is mesmerizing as you watch it sway, dreamily resting. And soon you find yourself on the shore once again, the warmth of the golden sun soothing you as you run your fingers through the silky soft sand. You feel that sense of peace. You match your breathing to the gentleness of the lapping waves, and you focus on those colours around you once more. The gold of the sun, the pale yellow of the sand, the blues of the ocean, the deep blue sky high above you. The sky is wide and deep and blue, and you are calm, confident and in control. So I'm going to count up from 1 to 7. And on that count of 7, you will open your eyes. And on that count of 7, upon opening your eyes, you can feel calm, happy, relaxed, and ready for the rest of your day. 1, 2, we're just bringing that awareness now back into the room. 3, noticing those sounds from your home, from outside. 4, 5, gently wriggling those toes. 6, very gently wriggling those fingers and bodies. And 7, opening those eyes, smiling, stretching, and feeling good. Okay. Oh, music's still playing for me. I did press play. Press pause rather. There we go. Okay, so if there's any brain waves left or brain power left, we do have time for questions. Okay. So bringing you all back around into the room, everybody. I hope you're still there, not too sleepy. What is good about the ones we do on Monday, all those recorded ones as well, is that I do it in 2 ways. So you can either fall asleep or use it to fall asleep, or we bring ourselves around as well. So you've got that option as well, which is good. So I hope you enjoyed that, which is lovely. If you did, now just very quickly, if our link ferry is available, do you have, thank you, she read my mind, there we go, she's got the link for the feedback form for me, which is great.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. That was wonderful. And I think there's so few questions because we're all too relaxed.
I just got one actually. So would you discuss meditation and how to keep at it? So meditation is, hang on. No, I'm not playing music. I don't know why it's asking me. Zoom's very odd. So meditation is different in the brain. So when we do relaxation, particularly doing solution focused hypnotherapy, we're encouraging the brain to almost go away with the fairies and think about all the things. Okay, so we're not trying to hold focus. We want our brains to explore and to come up with solutions to problems. So that's why we do that specifically. Now, meditation is more about focus and bringing you back into the now, focusing on breath and things like that. So this is why some people find perhaps meditation a bit more difficult to do, especially if you struggle with any sort of neurospiciness, I call it, any sort of ADHD, that struggle with attention, struggle with sitting, because it's easier for our minds to wander than it is to keep coming back into the moment. So if you are struggling to do meditation, very simply, it might be worth trying things like deep muscle relaxation first. So you practice or get used to just laying still, but also then doing something whilst you're laying still, but also then thinking of, your mind can wander, and that's okay. And then it may be worth trying over a course of a good few weeks of practice with that, then trying short meditations, just ones that are like a minute or so, and then trying to extend it that way. That's kind of how I would go about it, and it's something that I had to do. So even though I am absolutely undiagnosed, I I fully think I have ADHD, for me, relaxation came a lot easier than meditation did, because my brain just wants to just constantly wander and think about all the things. And to try and then keep bringing it back when it didn't want to was really difficult. So I did progressive muscle relaxation. That was kind of my key, or my foot in the door into trying meditation. And then I started really, really small and just extended the meditations longer and longer. So hopefully that's useful for you, and that's something that could work for you. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to very quickly, I always forget to do this bit, but I have here on the slides, feel free to take the QR codes here, if you can. If not, I think the link fairy has very, very kindly already shared my nighttime relaxation, but if they could perhaps put the deep muscle relaxation on as well, as a link. Thank you, Link Fairy. You're amazing. We love you. That would be amazing as well. So the main thing with things like progressive muscle relaxation, some of them will talk about opening jaws and clenching jaws. Again, just be super, super careful if you've got any sort of TMJ issues. And like everything, you are the expert of you. You know your body, what it can and can't do, and what is safe and not to do. Okay, so no overextending when you're scrunching or stretching faces and things to do relaxation like that. Okay. And then this is simply me. Feel free to follow if you want to follow. Obviously, you don't if you don't want to, but the option is there. And yeah, if there's any more questions, do let me know. Otherwise, feel free to go flop and enjoy the rest of your day. But I would ask you very kindly again to leave feedback. So hopefully I've got the right mix of education and relaxation this time for you all, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again, Kim, and thank you to everybody for coming. And we hope to see you at an event very soon. But thanks so much to Kim, and have a lovely rest of evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.